So this series of videos is essentially for young men who want to have their stories changed. If you're watching this today and you don't want to change your story, I would suggest you're in the wrong space. If you're comfortable with your masculinity, if you're comfortable with the story about masculinity that you've been given, this series of videos is not for you. This series of videos is specifically for young men who know through circumstance, feelings, emotions that actually, you know what, their story, even if it's intuitively in the back of their minds, just back of our minds, we feel like, hey, a story about masculinity is not true. This is the right place for you. But if we're gonna fully embrace a good story, we need to understand a little bit of context, and that's why we're shooting here for this video. It's going to be a little bit longer and a little bit slower. We're in my home. The location where we're shooting, Cato Manor, is essentially a kilometer or two away from me, and I have worked in the last 10 years extensively, and I'll explain why we're shooting there through the methodology that we're going to follow. But essentially the context for Whole Man is we have to find a new way to be men in a modern world. I think a lot of the work being done around masculinity is attacking symptoms. You know, the anxiety of young men, the depression rates of young men, suicide rates of young men, the unemployment of young men. And while these are important symptoms, the work that I've done over the last 10 years, specifically with men, has been about how do we connect the whole man? How do we bring the savage, raw man who wants to fight together with the kind, servant-hearted man who wants to love? How do we bring a man who feels emotions together with a man who can overcome almost anything? How do we create this construct of a whole man where we can actually be comfortable and validate and authentic in our masculine being? That's really the job of the whole man, okay? And the way that I'm proposing we do this, and these videos really are as much a test or like an hypothesis testing with you as the viewer, is to say that as men, if we're going to discover wholeness, we have to go to the center of our discomfort. We have to go to the dead center of our discomfort, that very place that terrifies us the most. We have to go sit there and feel that and allow that space to transform us. And so essentially what this series of videos has done is I've connected the masculine crisis, best defined by Scott Galloway. No cohort in human history has fallen faster and further than young men. You can read his book. To global inequality. Piketty's work on capital. It's probably one of the greatest, least talked about things right now on planet Earth, and will escalate exponentially with AI, most likely, is global inequality. I live in South Africa. The vast majority of my work has been trying to figure out how do we solve inequality ethically, because what we know is that when we live in an unequal world, it actually makes us sadder and more depressed, more anxious. And the best reference for that is the spirit level. And then I've connected global inequality with the AI crisis. Okay, so the AI crisis, there's two probably polar extremes. Galloway is saying it's just marketing. Yuval Noah Harari is saying this is the greatest apocalypse of all time. Thesis, antithesis. We always want to try to find synthesis, which Calvin Kelly is probably doing the best right now. And he's saying that AI is, without doubt, is going to create uncertainty. You know what I mean? It's just like, there's just layers of uncertainty that AI is going to bring. So we know to a degree AI is going to change the world for us as young men. And so what I've done is I've drawn a triangle around that, and I'm forcing us as a collective to sit in that triangle, because that triangle really has all of the things that are discomfort. It's got race, it's got gender, it's got power, it's got employment, it's got money, it's got inequality, it's got all these things that terrify and scare us, and I'm driving us to the dead center of that, which is why we're shooting in the Cato Manor with friends of mine, because as men, that makes us feel uncomfortable, okay? And the reason I'm driving us to the dead center of all of those four things and trying to reconcile them and bring them together into a whole man is because I'm following the process of initiation. And yeah, we need to define this well. I don't believe in domination. I don't believe in dog psychology, although I went to a school that, you know, we were beaten by anyone older than us till we bled. You know, I don't believe in breaking men so that you can build them up. That's not what I'm talking about when I'm saying initiation. I'm saying purposeful moments of mentorship that take men away from seeing themselves only and allow them to see others. Because actually my primary theory of change for all of this is attachment theory. And I'm saying that we'll only be able to discover that we are, as in a man is a man because of other men, or a person is a person because of other people, which is the heart and spirit of Ubuntu, that the world is lost. And Desmond Tutu said the one thing that Africa would export to the world was the spirit of Ubuntu. So if we're going to get out of the loneliness crisis as young men, we're going to have to transform our masculinity into something that's whole, that reconciles all the different bits of ourselves. We're going to have to reconcile the pressures of all of these different variables in the triangle that I've drawn, and then we're going to have to prioritize relationships. All right, so that really is the methodology that I'm following with you. In this context, this moment just allows us a little bit of space to digest that, and I hope that it's helped. A couple terms that'll just are important as you're watching. I apologize up front for generalizations. The viewer is really wide, but I would guess it's probably somewhere from their mid-teens to their 44th, to potentially a global audience. So just be prepared for generalizations, and just give me the grace to generalize if that's okay. The second thing is, I've used the term father in the idea of, as fathers, I've used the idea of father generally. So if you hear father and you didn't have a father, please, with grace, apply that to mentor or role model, someone you look up to and aspire to. And then the final word, which needs definition, is fail. When I say fail, try and hear the tone, which I don't know if I've fully captured in this series of videos, of welcome failure. In other words, failure is a good thing, because failure is something that liberates us from ourselves. I don't mean crushing, I don't mean breaking, I don't mean domination. I mean a process. Richard Raw is probably the best reference for this. It's a process where we're separated from our ego. Well, that's the heart of what I'm trying to say when I'm describing the term fail. And finally, which is probably helpful, is who am I? David Leslie. I'm a storyteller, filmmaker, marketing executive. Those don't qualify me for this work. I'm on my 6th degree. Communication and culture studies is my master's, and my PhD will be on how to use music and story change, and we're doing that quite extensively. It doesn't qualify me for this work. We ran one of the bigger agencies and filmmaking agencies in Durban. Again, doesn't qualify me for this work. I've worked with or most of the big South African schools around the masculine crisis. Again, doesn't really qualify me for this work. I'm a dad of 4, 3 boys, 1 girl. That I think qualifies me, because that's 2 of my boys that was divorced, and they were 1 and 3, and I've had to travel them, and it's been a real process of pain of being a dad, present dad in their life. Has been incredibly hard. It's just been a hard and beautiful thing, and I think that qualifies me for this work in part, just because I've understood how to fail and keep at it. But I think the thing that really probably qualifies me most of this work is that I'm willing. And that might offend people who are looking for experts out there, but I think if anything, the masculine crisis is a symptom of normal, everyday men like me who just not doing who disqualify ourselves because we're not being prepared to mentor young men out there to the best of our ability. And so that's really what this is. It's an affirmation of not my giftedness, but my heart and love to serve. And I really do hope that you receive it like that. So please, in the comments, share what you like. Kindly, if you wouldn't mind, share what you dislike. Let's build a collective ideas that, is this worthy of serving in this moment? Yeah, and I really hope it helps.
Let go and love.